451 gold. Yu Bing was usually busy and walked very quickly, so when everyone saw her occasionally, they would only greet her briefly. This time, when they stopped her, all of them wished they could express how diligent and studious they were. After Yu Bing finally sent them away, she continued walking forward slowly. Because of the farming break, many people strolled around and the village was much livelier than usual. On the way to work at the factory, many villagers greeted Yu Bing enthusiastically. Although they didn't stop her or say anything else, everyone's gazes were so fervent that Yu Bing was a little afraid. She felt that they looked at her as if they had seen gold and were about to pounce on her. Yu Bing is really impressive. I knew that she was capable, but I didn't expect her factory to be even more impressive than the food factory that has been opened for 2 years in the neighboring county. Isn't that so? My niece-in-law works there. Now, there aren't as many workers in that factory as there are in her factory. In the past, she always showed off her identity as a worker in front of me and acted so condescending. Now, my daughter has also entered the factory and her treatment is better than my niece-in-law's. I'll teach her a lesson when I return to my parents' house this year. Our village is one of the poorest in the commune. It makes me feel embarrassed every year when I go back to my parents' house and see my sisters. This year, when I went to town and mentioned I'm from the mountain village, they immediately mentioned the name of our food factory. How impressive! So in my opinion, it's very useful for girls to study. I'm forcing my daughter to go to night school every day now. If she can enter the factory one day and become a worker, she can find a good husband in the future. Our village is indeed different now. In the past, every time it was the new year, the children would be happy, but we adults would be worried sick. Now, there's hope. By the way, I heard that yesterday, the factory mentioned that the factory's debt had been paid off. When my daughter came home yesterday, she also said that she probably will get some dividends this year. Oh my God. That's great. Debt is really stressful. No matter how much the dividends are, they represent hope. To be honest, if it weren't for Yu Bing, we might still be the poorest village. The dozen or so people gathered around and chatted. Other than voicing their high hopes for the future, they also praised Bing. All of this was heard by Yan Yan and Yu Yan, who were passing by. Yu Yan's expression was very ugly, and Yan Yan's expression wasn't any better. As long as Yu Bing was doing well, Yu Yan would be displeased. Yan Yan felt that if only Yu Bing and Yu Yan's advantages could be combined. Yu Yan had a wealthy family, but she wasn't capable and relied on her family to support her. Yan Yan couldn't help but beat around the bush a few times to test her willingness to return to the city. However, no matter what, Yu Yan refused to go back. Thinking that she could only help him a little in terms of giving him food, Yan Yan felt a little unhappy. Yu Bing's family wasn't wealthy, but she was capable and had a good reputation in the village. Who wouldn't greet her when they saw her? Yan Yan felt that if he could become Yu Bing's man, he would definitely be respected and fawned over by everyone in the village. The more Yan Yan thought about it, the more he felt that it was a pity that the two of them couldn't become one. He also felt a little disdain for Yu Yan. When Yu Yan sensed that Yan Yan was a little down, her already unhappy expression darkened. What? Do you regret not being with Yu Bing? Hearing Yu Yan's sarcastic tone, Yan Yan looked up at Yu Yan and immediately revealed a fawning expression. In this situation, the first thing he had to do was appease Yu Yan. As long as Yu Yan could let him return to the city, everything else could be pushed back. The desire of returning to the city overcame everything once again. Yan Yan coaxed Yu Yan softly, "What are you talking about? You clearly know that I never liked her. In the past, I was with her because of my sense of duty. After I got together with you, did I even look at her?" After Yan Yan kept expressing his loyalty, he finally appeased Yu Yan half an hour later. Yan Yan finally heaved a sigh of relief. He had heard that a new movie was being released in the town cinema. Today, he had to think of a way to do something to Yu Yan so that the two of them could get closer. Subscribe and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much. 452 Small Meeting. Yan Yan really couldn't stand staying in the village anymore and set a time limit for him to stay until next year at most. Before next year, he had to think of a way to make Yu Yan relent and bring him back to the city. Yu Bing, who had already arrived at the factory, had no idea that so many things had happened behind her back. She wanted to expand the factory's business to the capital and city before school started next year. After things stabilized, she would hand the responsibilities over to reliable people and continue to expand the factory's business. This way, even if she left the mountain village later, Yu Bing could rest assured. After all, everything here was planned and built by her, so she didn't want the industrial chain to slowly wither after she left. This was the livelihood of the hundreds of people in the village. Yu Bing recruited Shuya into the factory as a product designer. Because she didn't have to be there physically, her work points were still the same, but her salary and benefits were half of that of ordinary workers. Yu Bing even left the management of the night school to Shuya. After all, Shuya was from a scholarly family and had some talent in terms of education. Not only did Shuya prepare her own classes, but she also often helped give other teachers ideas on how to make the class more lively and make students listen to the class more attentively. She would also actively make adjustments to the classes according to the villagers' actual needs. When there was a need, Shuya would work on designs for the factory. Usually, she would watch over the library Yu Bing established and occasionally help the teachers who were working. She was also very busy, but it was much more relaxing than working in the fields. To Yu Bing, this was called leaving professional matters to professionals. However, to Shuya, this showed that Yu Bing valued her. Although she didn't say it, she remembered Yu Bing's kindness. When Yu Bing arrived at the office, Shuya was already waiting at the door. After Yu Bing opened the door, Shuya followed her in. Feng Kai handed over the contract orders he had recently brought back to Wenqin. At the same time, he would check which people had yet to send the final payment, so he could urge them. When the two of them saw Yu Bing pass by the accounting room, they stopped what they were doing and went next door. Today, Yu Bing specifically gathered them for a small meeting to discuss the New Year gift box set. Wenqin handed the compiled data to Yu Bing. As you requested, I've compared the sales of various products in the past half a year by month. The second page is the top 10 products of our list, the sales performance of various cities in the past 3 months, and the third page is the production cost of each product under the current production capacity and the price of raw materials. After Yu Bing looked at the data, she asked Feng Kai, "Tell me about the sales situation of the various cities and your thoughts on the New Year gift box." This sudden question made Feng Kai a little nervous. He had never specifically memorized sales data, so he could only try to recall the data he remembered. He stuttered as he said, "As for gift boxes, I think there should be as many types as possible. Other than the gift boxes for single products, the other combination gift boxes should have a deluxe and normal version. The purchasing prices of the suppliers of Jiang Province's various agencies and manufacturers are mostly between 0.5 to 4 yuan. I suggest we stick to this price range as well." Although Yu Bing was younger than him, Feng Kai couldn't help but feel nervous when he was asked. Feng Kai swallowed hard after answering the question. Yu Bing gave the first 2 pages to Feng Kai and Shuya, and the third page to Wenqin. Feng Kai was only half right. To be able to remember so much data from the image shop in the past few months without specific statistics meant that he had analyzed the orders from the sales department. Although Feng Kai didn't meet Yu Bing's expectations, he passed. Yu Bing didn't say anything and only reminded Feng Kai to value the application of data. You can also use a similar form to manage the data for your customers starting next year. This will help you discover problems in time and make sales decisions. For example, you will be able to tell if our customers prefer our spicy products or sweet products, as well as the price range they can accept. This way, you can recommend new products next time. Even when we give them custom-made products for their daily employee benefits, we can match them according to their preferences, especially for orders from large factories. We have many competitors, so we should cherish every opportunity. Subscribe and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much. 453 Grinder. The diagrams Wenqin made were categorized by product and city. With the data comparison, a lot of information could be seen at a glance. Feng Kai nodded. I'll make a form template after I get back and send it to various offices to make a client's data and materials book. This was because Yu Bing wanted the approximate data to make the product judgment of the gift box set. However, Feng Kai was the person in charge of the business department, so the data in his hand should be more detailed and he could make a more effective marketing plan for customers. Yu Bing nodded and continued, "Our gift box set products will be chosen from among the top 10. I think our spicy products and sweets will be popular in some cities. The product ratio in the gift box will have half of each. For the other cities, we will come up with the corresponding ratio according to the data we have. The 10 cities will be divided into 3 categories according to the similarity of the data. For each category, we will produce 3 different combination sets. We won't make gift boxes with chicken or duck meat. Because there's not much chicken and duck meat, we'll only provide them to the manufacturers and agencies under City H's jurisdiction." After Feng Kai went to the warehouse to get the finished products, the 4 of them combined them. Then, Wenqin calculated the best sale price. In the end, Yu Bing set the price. After the discussion, they set the price for 9 gift boxes in the morning. Shuya was considered an experienced person, while Yu Bing provided ideas at the side. The sample design was confirmed in the afternoon and they used the bamboo weaving technique as usual. However, the design styles of gift boxes of different prices were also different. The stickers on the bamboo basket were also different. Then, the two sides split up. Shuya immediately went to town to communicate with the printing factory about the sample design of the design sticker. Fonkai asked the employees in the warehouse to weave the bamboo baskets according to Shuya's design of the bamboo basket. There were 2 gift boxes for each meal set. At noon the next day, 10 shops, 9 gift boxes, and 60 samples were all prepared. Time was tight, so Fonkai temporarily borrowed the employees of the 4 warehouses, and the few of them went to various image shops to deliver samples. As the New Year product orders began to be pre-sold, the entire village began to weave bamboo baskets again. New Year's Day would be in a few days, and Wu Jin had thought that the village would hold a gala performance like last year, but everyone's attention was on weaving the bamboo baskets. After all, earning money was the most important. With more money, everyone could eat a few more pieces of meat during the new year. None of them were in the mood to appear on the show anymore. After all, weaving baskets would only take about 10 days. After this, they would have to wait until the next holiday. In the end, Wu Jin could only give up. Because the food factory had made a name for itself in the province, it accumulated a certain amount of customers. Moreover, every new year, Yu Bing would diligently make modifications to the packaging. When the price was about the same, the details determined success or failure, so orders kept coming to the food factory. Some manufacturers had also discovered the details on the packaging of the delicious food factory, and many imitated it. Some of them failed to imitate it. Some of the imitations were indeed well made, but the taste of their products wasn't as good as that of delicious food factory. There were also 1 or 2 large food factories that did both. However, Delicious Food Factory was the first to make a name for itself with this idea. This service concept of respecting consumers was promoted by Delicious Food Factory. In this era, where there was a lack of service, this service concept helped them gain a large number of loyal customers. Moreover, Delicious Food Factory also had many trump cards, so even if its business was affected, the impact was very small. After all, the domestic market was so big. Moreover, they could also sell goods on Shaoxing's black market. With the current production capacity of Shaoxing's black market, Shaoxing could sell all the remaining stock. After Wu Jin finished patrolling the orchard and farm, he went to the food factory. When he saw that Yu Bing had personally made the gift box packaging because of the shortage of workers, he smiled and went forward to help. Yu Bing, our village is about to be made into a model village by you. Everyone is extremely enthusiastic. Yu Bing turned to look at Wu Jin and said with a smile, "That's good." Usually, the villagers keep having conflicts with each other. Now, they're all cooped up at home weaving bamboo baskets. Not only are they vying to do more work, but the social climate is also improving as well. When Wu Jin heard this, he thought about it and felt that it was true. What's the saying? Money talks. Even those who like to gossip have quietened down. When Yu Bing thought of the adaptation of that saying in the future, she smiled and said, "Those who had the time to cause trouble previously were just too idle." Subscribe and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much. For 54 abandoning the old and welcoming the new. The other employees in the warehouse laughed when they heard this. That makes sense. My mother-in-law likes to cause trouble. It's as if she's unhappy if she doesn't sow discord. However, every time the factory starts making baskets, she doesn't go anywhere during that period of time. She just stares at the gift boxes every day and tries her best to make a few more. That's right. I can't control my wife either. However, as soon as Miss Yu says the factory will start making baskets, no one goes to the information exchange center at the entrance of the village anymore. Ha ha ha, the entire family is working together to weave bamboo baskets. It's indeed much more harmonious. The food factory was immersed in a productive atmosphere. Everyone was making the final push for the last batch of New Year's orders. The last day of this year arrived. Although New Year's Day wasn't as grand as the Spring Festival in the Gregorian calendar, it was also a day of abandoning the old and welcoming the new. According to the country's legal holidays, the food factory would have a day off on January 1st. This wasn't the first time Shaoxing had invited Yu Bing and Jiang Chun to the Xiao family's house for dinner, so the two of them didn't stand on ceremony with him. After all, the more people, the merrier. This year was much colder than last year, so everyone unanimously decided to eat hot pot. Yu Bing stir-fried the hot pot base like last year, while Jiang Chun and Shaoxing were in charge of washing the hot vegetables. Because they were already prepared and Shaoxing didn't lack money or stamps, this year's feast was much more sumptuous than that of last year. Other than chicken and fish, Shaolin bought pig liver, pig intestines, beef, and tofu in town early in the morning. Yu Bing soaked the dried mushrooms in water. Winter vegetables like potatoes, radishes, and cabbage filled the table. Everyone raised their glasses. Because there was no wine, they filled them with honey water to celebrate. Yu Bing smiled and said, "It's a new year again. I hope everything will go smoothly for all of us this year. Xiaoxing also smiled and said, I wish everyone a happy new year. Jiangchun thought for a moment and smiled. My blessing is simple. I hope everyone will be happy every day and live a better life. Xiaolin was unwilling to be ignored, so he hurriedly raised his glass and said, I want to say my blessing too. I want to wish everyone a happy new year. I hope that Sister Yubing and Sister Jiangchun will become more and more beautiful and have their wishes fulfilled. I hope that my brother will be safe and my sister will be healthy. I hope that my study progress will improve. Xiaolin's blessings were very specific and with the innocence and sincerity of a child. The blessings were usually said by adults, but since Xiaolin joined in the fun, Xiaoli was also interested and said with a smile, then I wish everyone all the best. Yubing laughed as she rubbed Xiaoli's head. Well said. This blessing has the most weight. As the 5 of them said their New Year's blessings, the hot pot on the table was steaming. In the brazier on the ground beside it, the burning dead wood crackled like firecrackers while warming the air. There was snow outside the house and warm yellow lighting in the house. At this moment, in the intellectual dormitory, everyone was gathered together to celebrate the new year. As the male team leader and female team leader of the intellectual team, when Jiang and Tianjing suggested that everyone hand over 0.3 yuan so that everyone could pool their money together to get stamps and eat a good meal. Everyone agreed. In the end, they used the 20.5 yuan they had gathered to buy 2 chickens, 9 pounds of pork, and 1 pound of pork bones. The intellectuals had reclaimed 2 acres of veggie land at the back of the dormitory building, so they didn't need to pay for the vegetables. The pork bones were used as the base of the soup, and the pork was cut into thin slices. In order for everyone to get a share of the chicken was cut into small pieces. Because the meat was distributed evenly according to the number of people, the 2 team leaders first used bone soup to cook the meat and vegetables. Then, everyone held a bowl as they queued up. These things looked like a lot, but with 68 people, everyone could only eat 2 pieces of chicken at most. They could even get 4 to 5 pieces of pork. Although it wasn't much, it was enough to satisfy their appetite. After most people received the meat, they would first bury it under the rice. After the vegetables were served, they would take a piece out from time to slowly savor the meat. Yu Yin sat at the side with Yan Yin in an old cotton jacket. Seeing everyone's actions, she snorted in disdain and ate the meat in her bowl first. If it weren't for the fact that the weather was cold and she didn't want to freeze her hands, she wouldn't have bothered with these poor people for just a few pieces of meat. Subscribe and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much. 4.55 half a liquor of rice. Yu Yin decided to go to the county's restaurant tomorrow on New Year's Day and order a bowl of red braised pork. Ever since the last fight, Su Ling and Yu Yan's relationship had been tense. Su Ling often secretly paid attention to Yu Yan for fear that she would miss the opportunity to catch the chink in her armor. When Su Ling saw Yu Yan's expression, she mocked, Yu Yan, why are you snorting? Don't forget that a few months ago, when your parents didn't send you money, we pitied you and our charity allowed you to last for half a month. Otherwise, would you have been able to wait until your parents sent you money? How dare you look down on us for eating these few pieces of meat? You're so heartless. Su Ling had always remembered how Yu Yan said that she was ungrateful. Because Su Ling had also given Yu Yan half a handful of rice, she used it to mock Yu Yan whenever she had the chance recently. In early September, under everyone's supervision, Yu Yan sold her new cotton clothes and stamps for 26 yuan and paid off her debt. However, Yu Yan had only been here for half a year last year. Moreover, she often slacked off when Sun Wang was the village chief. Therefore, there wasn't much food left for her at the end of the year. Previously, Yu Yan had money, so when she ran out of food, she would take the money to buy rice from the villagers or take food stamps to the food supply shop. However, when she was urged to pay the debt in September, she happened to be out of rice. The few yuan she had left was used on phone calls. That was her last hope, so she had to keep it no matter what. In the end, Yu Yan spent 20 cents to buy a large bag of sweet potatoes. She ate them for 3 meals a day. In order to make them last longer, she only ate 1 steamed sweet potato per meal. When she was working, Yu Yan often found an opportunity to slack off and conserve her energy. Although she only ate until she was so hungry that her stomach ached every day, she could still hold on. In October, the village began harvesting. The team leader knew that Yu Yan liked to slack off, so he kept an eye on her. During the harvest period, every family would be able to eat better food. Otherwise, their bodies wouldn't be able to take it and they would collapse from exhaustion sooner or later. Usually, they would eat porridge for lunch, but during this period of time, they would basically eat rice. Some families even cooked meat, and those who went to the fields could get a piece or 2. However, at this moment, Yu Yan only had sweet potatoes left. Even if she ate 2 at noon, after holding on for a week, she fainted in the field because she was tired and hungry and was sent to the infirmary. Yu Yan was an intellectual under the teen leader Tian Jing. After this incident, she immediately went to visit her to learn more about the situation. Yu Bing usually only paid attention to the intellectuals. Moreover, she was busy during that period of time. When she found out about the situation from the doctor, Tian Jing could only call for everyone to donate some rice to Yu Yan. Considering that Yu Yan's stomach was injured by hunger, Tian Jing didn't cook hard rice. Instead, she took the rice everyone gave her and cooked a bowl of thick rice porridge. She also sent red dates to help replenish Yu Yan's blood. She tore them and placed them in the rice porridge. After cooking them, she brought them to the infirmary for Yu Yan to drink. Tian Jing knew that Yu Yan was stubborn and prideful, so she didn't tell Yu Yan that this rice was donated by everyone. In order to prevent Yu Yan from asking him for money and rice, Yan Yan had been pretending to be sick recently and often complained about being poor in front of Yu Yan. Fortunately, Yu Yan believed him. However, this time was different from the past. Yu Yan was so hungry that she fainted. If he, her boyfriend, didn't do anything, Yu Yan would definitely be suspicious. The rice everyone donated helped him out, so Yan Yan wouldn't tell Yu Yan about this. Yu Yan had always thought that Tian Jing had given the rice to her. She thought that since Tian Jing was the team leader, she had the responsibility to take care of her, so she took it with a clear conscience and was worried that Tian Jing would want her to pay the rice back. It wasn't until a week later that Yu Yan found out how the rice came about after being mocked by Su Ling. She couldn't take it lying down and wanted to return the rice, but Yan Yan kept the rice on the grounds that she already owed everyone a favor anyway. However, when Yu Yan received the money from her adoptive parents, she bought a few pounds of snacks and biscuits and distributed them to everyone. Now that she heard Su Ling mention this again, Yu Yan felt stifled. Su Ling, you're not going to let this matter rest, are you? Didn't I buy food for everyone later? Those things are much more expensive than that handful of rice. Subscribe and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much. 456 biased. When Su Ling heard this, she sneered and said, Yu Yan, you're really ungrateful. If it weren't for the half a handful of rice you look down on now, you might have starved to death. We saved your life, understand? Do you think you can return the favor just by buying some expensive things? Yu Yan retorted bluntly, never expect the rewards when helping someone out. Aren't you blackmailing me now? Su Ling looked as if she had heard a joke. Never expect the rewards when helping someone out? Isn't it a little funny to hear this from the mouth of someone who received the favor? When you're rich, you buy things for everyone to eat as repayment? When everyone heard Yu Yan's words, their expressions darkened. When they donated rice, they didn't think of asking Yu Yan to repay them. They only did it on account of the fact that everyone was away from home and that they should support each other. Although everyone disliked Yu Yan, her life was in danger. Moreover, the team leader had already spoken. However, putting aside the fact that Yu Yan and Su Ling were criticizing each other, Yu Yan's mocking attitude towards them really disappointed them. Tian Jing's expression darkened as she reprimanded loudly, all right. Stop arguing, or else get out. Seeing that their team leader was angry, Yu Yan and Su Ling stopped, but they still glared at each other fiercely. The originally festive atmosphere instantly became a little stiff. Everyone continued to eat the veggies silently. Seeing this, Wen Jiang smiled and suggested that they perform in the hall to celebrate the new year together like in previous years. This suggestion was agreed upon by everyone. There were many intellectuals who could sing and dance. They didn't need to prepare in advance and could perform on stage directly. The atmosphere returned to normal. After dinner, everyone washed up together. The people on the stage were performing, and the people below the stage were weaving bamboo baskets. Everyone was smiling, and the atmosphere was peaceful. As Yu Yan watched the lively scene in front of her, she felt that she was a little out of place, so she didn't want to stay any longer. She stood up and returned to her room. When Yan Yan saw this, he wanted to chase after her, but when he thought of Yu Yan's moodiness recently, he gave up. He was afraid that he would get in trouble later, so he felt that it was better to watch the performance downstairs. Yu Yan took out the letter she had gone to collect in the afternoon. The person who had sent the letter was her adoptive parents. There was also a situation note in the envelope. Li Xian had found an agency to write this. With this certificate, Yu Yan could find the village to write a certificate and return to the city for the new year. Yu Hai and Li Xian mentioned in their letter that because Yu Shi was still recovering this year, the supervisor had specifically approved for him to return to the team after the new year. They hoped that Yu Yan could go home early this year so that their family of 4 could celebrate the new year. Yu Shi had been a soldier for 10 years, and this was the second time he had celebrated the new year at home, so Yu Hai and Li Xian were looking forward to this year's spring festival. When Yu Yin saw these words, a hint of hatred appeared on her face as she muttered, "I won't let you guys get what you guys want. Reunion. I won't go back." Thinking of her stomachache from starvation some time ago, Yu Yin felt that her adoptive parents were not worthy of asking her to go back to celebrate the new year. It was all Yushi's fault. Something just had to happen to him at that time. Her adoptive parents were so biased now. Yushi was going home to celebrate the new year, so they asked her to go home early. Why? Since they went to the Yu family to adopt her back then, why didn't they cherish her? Thinking of how she had already been mocked by all the intellectuals because she had borrowed money, Yu Yin hated her adoptive parents for only caring about their biological son and not her. Performing surgery was the doctor's business, and they couldn't help. If she was in trouble, they could have helped, but didn't help. Moreover, if they had sent her money as usual, she wouldn't have ended up in this state. When she thought of how her adoptive mother wanted to force her to return to the city and control her, Yu Yin felt even more resentful. Yu Yan's grip on the letter slowly tightened until the letter was torn. Yu Yin resented her adoptive parents, but she didn't stop replying. Yu Yin knew very well that although she was going against her adoptive parents, thinking of a way to get more money from them was more important. They owed her this. Subscribe and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much. 457 onion noodles. Yu Yin replied that she would return home as soon as possible for the new year and hoped that her parents could send some more money over for travel expenses. Yu Yan's new cotton clothes had been sold last time. Now, be it buying ready-made clothes or buying cotton to make them herself, she needed stamps. However, Yu Yin didn't have any stamps now, so she asked her adoptive mother to send a new cotton shirt over with the excuse that she had donated the new cotton shirt she had received last year to a poor orphan. Then, she asked about her adoptive brother's recovery and expressed her worries as sincerely as possible. After writing the letter, she stuffed it into the envelope and prepared to send it out when she went to town tomorrow. The next day was New Year's Day, so many people in the village woke up early and went to town or county city. Yu Bing and Jiang Chun chose to sleep in at home and woke up at 10 o'clock. The two of them had just washed up when they heard a knock on the door. Little Tiger, who was playing in the courtyard, shouted at the closed courtyard door. After Yu Bing hurriedly went to open the door, she realized that Wang Yun and Song Li were standing outside. She asked happily, "Why are you two here?" Yu Bing had not been to the Song family's house for more than 3 months because she was busy. She held their hands and led them in happily. "Come in and sit." Wang Yun rolled her eyes at Yu Bing. "If you hadn't come, you would have forgotten about me." Song Li pouted and said, "Humph, you must have forgotten about me too." Yu Bing joked with a smile, "I didn't forget you guys. I've been too busy recently. I wanted to visit you guys, Uncle Song, and Auntie Song during the factory's break." Because Jiang Chun had seen the two of them before, she came out of the room and greeted them. "Have you guys eaten breakfast yet? I'll cook now. Let's eat together later." Song Li hurriedly pulled Jiang Chun and rejected, "There's no need to go through so much trouble. We only came after eating. We just want to talk to Yu Bing about something." Yu Bing deliberately revealed a regretful expression. "That's a pity. I originally wanted to make onion noodles." Yu Bing had made onion noodles in the Song family's house once. Mrs. Song had learned how to make it a few times, but failed to replicate the taste. Now that she could eat it, Song Li's eyes lit up and she raised her hand. "I'll eat. I'll eat. Add me a bowl." When Wang Yun saw that her sister-in-law had changed her mind without hesitation, she coughed lightly and said, "It took a lot of energy to ride a motor here, so I'm a little hungry too. I'd like a bowl." Yu Bing and Jiang Chun burst out laughing. Jiang Chun praised, "Yu Bing's onion noodles are indeed superb." Song Li and Wang Yun immediately nodded in agreement. Yu Bing smiled and said, "You guys have been to my house before, so make yourselves at home." Song Li pushed Yu Bing into the kitchen with an anxious expression. "Hurry up and cook it. Don't worry about us. We won't stand on ceremony with you." Yu Bing smiled and started making noodles after she was pushed into the kitchen. Onion noodles were a specialty of Yu Bing's hometown. The ingredients were simple, but they consumed a little oil. Yu Bing washed a handful of onions and cut them into pieces. Then, she peeled open the skin of the white onions and broke them into pieces. Then, she heated the pot and poured oil into it. When the oil was heated, she poured the white onions onto the oil and spread them out evenly. As the oil temperature increased, she added some clear water into the pot to lower the oil's temperature. This way, she could fish the white onions out when they became crispier. Then, she placed the green onions into the pot of oil and quickly moved them with her chopsticks to let them dissipate the water. Soon, the green onions looked like a combination of reddish brown and dark green. At this moment, 2/3 of the onion oil was poured out. Then, she continued to pour raw soy sauce into the pot to bring out the unique fragrance of the onions. Then, she added some sugar, a certain amount of water, and boiled it again. When the oil and sauce separated, it meant that the onion oil juice had been mixed evenly. At this moment, she boiled the noodles. After the noodles were cooked, she fished them out and poured in the onion oil before mixing them evenly. There was some fried golden and crispy onion on the surface. The onion oil noodles were ready now. Everyone had a big bowl. After Wang Yun and Song Li finished eating, they felt so stuffed that it was like their stomachs were about to explode. Yu Bing prepared hawthorn tea for everyone. Only after eating and drinking her fill did Wang Yun remember her purpose for coming this time. Subscribe and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much. 458 University Spot. Wang Yun slapped her thigh. I almost forgot about the serious business. Yu Bing, this year, our commune fought for a university spot for each village. My father-in-law only found out about this yesterday and is preparing to announce this news to the various village chiefs at the monthly commune meeting in 3 days. My father-in-law said that with your performance, you will definitely get a spot in your village. If the village chief has any objections, he'll handle it. Your priority now is to study. Although you just finished high school last year, you've been in the countryside for more than a year after all, so you probably forgot about some knowledge. The list will be confirmed in a week, but you can start preparing early now. Song Li echoed, that's right. You don't have to worry about the spot. With your performance, no one in the He Mountain village has contributed more than you. The spot should be yours. If anyone dares to play any tricks, my father will keep an eye on them. Yu Bing was stunned for a moment. She recalled that in her previous life, she had also obtained a spot for a University of Labor and Agriculture. However, she was stupid and got deceived by Yan Yan. In order to please him, she gave up this spot without hesitation. Yan Yan used this spot to return to the city and attend university. There was actually a huge difference between a University of Labor and Agriculture and a real university. The University of Labor and Agriculture appeared because of the cancellation of the college entrance examination. It was unique to this period and had only existed for a short 10 years. From the name, it could be seen that the students of this university were selected among workers, farmers, and soldiers. They would go to school to receive 2 to 3 years of education before returning to production. Letting intellectuals go to the countryside to do construction was to transform students into workers, farmers, and soldiers. The University of Labor and Agriculture was the exact opposite. These spots were confirmed by the school and reported to the admissions office. After they were collected, they were distributed to various factories, villages, and troops. Although these people still returned to their original places of work after graduation, their identities became public officials. This was an opportunity for them to change their fate. The conditions for enrollment were very simple. As long as one was about 20 years old, had good morals, was healthy, and had a level of education above junior high, they would be qualified. Then, the various grassroots agencies would recommend candidates and they would take the same exam. They could only go to university after they passed the political review. However, the passing rate was very high, above 90%. The enrollment system was through recommendation, so there was a lot of room for manipulation. This was because the screening criteria wasn't one's learning score, but a supervisor's subjective judgment of whether the other party was proactive or not. Therefore, there were many cases of getting in through the back door. The most important thing was that clean background and political overreach mainly depended on your family's background and whether you were related to people with correct political ideals. The University of Labor and Agriculture was said to be a university, but the knowledge base of the students who went to school there was very different. To teachers, such differences made the difficulty of teaching them rise exponentially. Moreover, the content of the lessons was unrelated to the subject, such as politics, digging pits, clearing the river, rehearsing performances, watching movies, and so on. Yu Bing, who knew the future, naturally didn't care about this spot. She hoped to participate in the college entrance examination at the end of the year and enter a real university to learn cultural knowledge. Jiang Chun was extremely excited when she heard this, even happier than if she herself obtained the spot. This is a good thing. Don't worry, Yu Bing has been studying. She will definitely pass. After Yu Bing glanced at the few people who were happy that she had obtained a spot, she thought for a moment and said, Sister Yun, Song Li, tell Uncle Song not to worry. I don't plan to take this spot. Wang Yun asked in confusion, why? A lot of people are dying to get this spot. To the people of this era, it was incomprehensible to take the initiative to give up such a rare opportunity to climb up the social ranks, so the three of them looked at Yu Bing in confusion. Yu Bing couldn't say the reason, so she could only find an excuse. I think my current life is quite good. Moreover, if there's really a chance to return to the city, I think I'm quite capable and often go to other agencies to do business, so I have a higher chance of being chosen by the agency supervisor than other people. It's better to give the opportunity to people who need it more. Somli said with admiration, no wonder my father asked me to learn from you. I'm still far inferior to you. Subscribe and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much. 459 Formula Milk. Yu Bing felt a little guilty when she heard this and she touched her nose sheepishly. It's mainly because I have more opportunities than others. Otherwise, I might not have given up the spot. However, Wang Yun and Song Li still persuaded her. Even Jiang Chun felt that it was a pity for Yu Bing to give up this opportunity. Only 1,000 people had such a spot. Last year, it wasn't even their commune's turn. However, since Yu Bing had already made up her mind, the three of them could only give up. Wang Yun and Song Li sat for a while before riding the motor back to town. As soon as the two of them left, Xiaoxing arrived. After Xiaoxing entered with a small cloth bag, Little Tiger immediately went forward and wagged its tail at Xiaoxing's feet. Yu Bing shook her head when she saw its solicitous look. Yu Bing said in disdain, this heartless fellow treats you better than its two masters, Jiang Chun and me. I even suspect that you secretly bewitched it. When Xiaoxing heard Yu Bing's teasing words, his heart skipped a beat and he stared at Yu Bing as he said in all seriousness, if I had bewitching soup, I would have made you drink it. Yu Bing blushed and hurriedly looked at Jiang Chun, who was cleaning the kitchen. Seeing that Jiang Chun didn't seem to have heard him, she turned around and glared at Xiaoxing as she said softly, what nonsense are you talking about? Xiaoxing was afraid that Yu Bing would be angry, so he didn't dare to tease her anymore. He handed over the cloth bag in his hand and said with a smile, I got the milk powder you wanted. Yu Bing took the bag in surprise and eagerly took out 2 bags of milk powder to take a look. This is great. Xiao Yu has been eating rice paste for half a month. The little bit of meat he finally grew is gone again. Xiaoxing smiled and said, the milk powder you want is foreign and has always been in high demand, so the price increased a little when I got it. This thing was expensive and difficult to get. If not for Xiaoxing, Yu Bing would have wasted a lot of time asking for stamps. The town had yet to sell them, so she had to try her luck in the county city. If the county city didn't have such an expensive thing, she could only take a car to the provincial city to buy it. It can't be helped even if it takes a long time. As long as we can get it, it's fine. How much is it? To infants, formula milk was more nutritious than fresh milk, so Yu Bing insisted on buying formula milk. Because he didn't have foreign goods like milk powder, Xiaoxing had to use his connections and treat others to a meal to get these 2 bags. He knew Yu Bing's personality, so he didn't say that it was free. However, he only reported the price of the milk powder and didn't say anything else. 2 bags cost a total of 150 yuan. Jiang Chun happened to come out of the kitchen. When she heard this, she took a few steps forward and looked at the milk powder in Yu Bing's hand as she said in surprise, oh my god. This is so expensive. I heard that a bag of milk powder only cost more than 10 yuan before. Yu Bing explained to Jiang Chun, that's for adults. This is for infants and children. It's made with a targeted formula. In this day and age, there were not many families who could afford to drink milk powder. The formula in the country was still underdeveloped, so many people didn't know that people of different ages drank milk powder with different formulas. Jiang Chun took it and looked at it again. Then, she shook her head as she marveled, how many people can afford it? Yu Bing smiled as she returned to her room to take out money for Xiaoxing. Thank you. I know how difficult it is to get this thing. I'll treat you to a meal another day. Xiaoxing's eyes darted around. Can I get extra points instead? Yu Bing's smile froze. Thinking about how he had been doing well recently and how she had not given him extra points for a long time, she said readily, I still have to treat you. I'll give you 5 points if you want. 50 points were enough. This was a pleasant surprise, so Xiaoxing smiled. Then I'll be waiting. Jiang Chun didn't know what the two of them were talking about, but she knew that it must be an agreement between lovers. Her eyes darted between the two of them with a teasing look. Yu Bing was so embarrassed that she glared at Jiang Chun. Then, she said to Xiaoxing seriously, hurry up and go back. We're going out later. Xiaoxing was speechless. He suddenly felt like a milk powder deliverman. Xiaoxing looked at Yu Bing resentfully, then he left obediently. Yu Bing cleared her throat guiltily. Let's go to Wenqin's house to take a look. When the two of them arrived, Wenqin was making lunch. Wenqin's family's lunch was very simple. They had stir-fried cabbage, minced meat, and potatoes. There was only a little bit of minced meat. Their main dish was sweet potatoes. This was the norm for most people in this era. Seeing the two of them enter, Wenqin hurriedly left the kitchen and called the two of them to sit in the living room. In the house, Sun Hui was sitting beside his brother's bamboo cradle. When he saw Yu Bing and Jiang Chun, he hurriedly stood up and greeted them. The two of them laughed and played with the two children for a while before sitting on the chairs beside them. Subscribe and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much. 460 letter. Yu Bing placed the milk powder on the table. You suddenly ran out of milk, so I bought some milk powder for Xiao Yu. He's still young, so he definitely can't keep drinking rice paste. Wen Qin was worldly, so when she saw the foreign language on the packaging, she hurriedly stuffed the milk powder back into the bag. Why did you buy this? It's so expensive. Take it back and return it. Yu Bing took out the milk powder again. Now is not the time to be polite. It's not enough for him to just eat rice paste when he's less than half a year old. What if it slows his growth? Xiao Yu's condition wasn't good when he was born. He was born weak and has to recuperate before he can recover. Look, he only ate rice paste for a few days, but his face is as thin as a monkey's. Even if you don't feel sorry for him, I do. Wen Qin looked in the direction of the bamboo cradle and thought of the look on her youngest son's face. In the end, she gave up on maintaining her pride. Yu Bing, if you encounter anything in the future, just ask. I'll do my best to help you. Yu Bing didn't refuse. In the beginning, she had helped Wen Qin because she had yet to return the favor she owed Sun Yu. However, now, she genuinely liked Wen Qin. She wasn't a saint who was willing to do good deeds without asking for anything in return. Friendship depended on reciprocity. If it was one-sided, the friendship definitely wouldn't last long. Yu Bing and Jiang Chun stayed for a while before leaving. The two of them rode Xiaoxing's bicycle to town first before heading to the county city to watch a movie. In order to ensure that the orders were completed on time, there would be no more breaks for the next 14 days. On the other side, Yu Yin woke up at 11 o'clock. After washing up, she tied her hair into two ponytails with a red headband and matched it with a red cashmere scarf. This made her look rosier and lessened the sickly look on her face. She chose a relatively good one from the two cotton clothes and put it on. Then, she put on her leather shoes despite the heavy snow. Then, she placed the letter into her green backpack and sent it to the county city to be mailed. When Yu Yin met Yan Yin in the hall on the first floor, she greeted him and turned to leave. When Yan Yin saw that Yu Yin was clearly dressed to enter the city, he hurriedly stopped her. Yu Yin, you're going to the city? Yu Yin glanced at Yan Yin and replied, I'm going to the county city to send a letter. Hearing Yu Yin was going to send a letter, Yan Yin asked expectantly, a letter? Yu Yin didn't notice Yan Yin's abnormality and replied aloofly, yes, if there's nothing else, I'll leave first. I still have to transfer buses later. Yan Yin wanted to inquire about the contents of Yu Yan's letter and see if there was a chance to persuade Yu Yin to return to the city. However, when he saw her anxious expression and thought of the 16.8 yuan in his pocket, he gritted his teeth and pretended to be indifferent as he said, today is New Year's Day. I was about to look for you to go to the county city to watch a movie. I didn't expect you to plan to go to town as well. What a coincidence. Yu Yin looked at Yan Yin suspiciously. This is too sudden. Yan Yin found an excuse and explained, I've thought about it before. I wanted to give you a surprise, so I deliberately waited until now to say it. Yu Yin thought about how she was still preparing to eat a feast later. It wasn't worth it for Yan Yin to freeload a meal with just a movie stamp, so she was a little unwilling to bring Yan Yin along. Moreover, Yu Yin realized that Yan Yin was too poor. When she was in trouble previously, Yan Yin couldn't help at all. Therefore, Yu Yin had a bad impression of Yan Yin now. In the past, she would think of him if she had any delicious food to share. Yu Yin didn't relent and found an excuse to refuse. I'm a little tired, so I won't go play. I'm just going to the county city to send a letter. I'll be back soon. Yan Yin didn't expect that there would be a time when he would be rejected. However, he didn't believe this excuse. She could just send the letter in town and she didn't need to go to the county. She was clearly prepared to go stroll around. While he was in a daze, Yu Yin had already turned around and left. Seeing that Yu Yin was so cold to him, Yan Yin panicked. Ever since everyone found out that Yu Yin had borrowed money, although Yan Yin still maintained a certain distance from Yu Yin in order to get a spot to return to the city, he had never helped her, especially when it came to food. At that time, Yu Yin didn't ask Yan Yin for money to buy rations, and Yan Yin didn't even mention it. He pretended not to know that his girlfriend could barely fill her stomach with sweet potatoes every day. From that moment on, Yu Yin rarely took the initiative to look for Yan Yin. Subscribe and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much.